Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Today we're going to be organizing Too Many Bones, designed by Josh Carlson, Adam Carlson, and Josh Wielgus, and published by Chip Theory Games. This is a fully expanded copy of Too Many Bones all the way up to the Unbreakable Cycle. This includes everything stored into the Trove Chest here, but the Trove Chest is gigantic and honestly doesn't work great for filming, so what I'm going to do is show you each individual tray of the Trove Chest and talk about how we organize it for not only helping up with setup, but facilitating the game while it's being played. If you have any questions about what you see here, please let me know down in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure that you do. It is the best way to help us grow. Let's get started organizing Too Many Bones with the Trove Chest. Before we get into the Trove Chest, I want to quickly talk about all of the redundant components for Too Many Bones. Now, these are going to include things like deck boxes, these extra plastic chips, more trays for the different tyrants, and then lots of different attack dice, extra sets of the initiative chips. Basically, if you have all of the content for Too Many Bones, there's a lot of things you're not going to need because they're replicated in all of the additional base sets. Like Undertow, the base game, and Unbreakable all come with additional sets of all of the core components, so you can go ahead and remove those. So when we go into each of the trays, make sure to look out because you'll be seeing just a single copy of each of the required components there for the redundant pieces here. And lastly, all additional items like the books, as well as the pop-up book for Automoton of Shale, anything that's not directly gameplay related, we've left outside of the box as they are not going to be incorporated or used every single time you play. So that all being said, let's get started organizing Too Many Bones. Starting off with the top box, we have all of your reference material. Starting off with your Baddie skills reference, as well as just the encounter round reference, terms, etc. These are going to be your general 2 sheets you'll use for every game that give you a comprehensive rundown of all of the little steps, phases, and abilities. So there are multiple copies of these from different core sets, and I've put them at the bottom of the stack, but these are the 2 that you're going to be using the most frequently as they are comprehensive. Underneath that, you have the current rulebook for Unbreakable. This is version 1. It's got all of your new information on how to use the new maps, every single component listed as well. Underneath the rulebook, you have all of your reference sheets for your Gearlocs. Now, for example, these are all of our new Gearlocs here, but some Gearlocs may come with additional references, and you'll just stack those with them like so. So you'll go through here, find the Gearlocs that you want to use, and then grab your associated dice in the other tray. So these are all of your different Gearloc sheets here. Underneath the Gearloc reference sheets, you'll have your remaining rulebooks. These are for Undertow as well as the core game, and then all of your additional reference sheets from past expansions that are not comprehensive. So these don't include all of them past their current expansion. You'll also have all of your Tyrant die reference, as well as your reference sheets for your Create a Tyrant encounters from Splice and Dice, and then the associated mats to go ahead and run those underneath. These are game modes that I don't use as frequently, so that's why they're here. So when we do want to play them, they're in one dedicated spot. And then lastly, you'll have the Age of Tyranny expansion. This is for the campaign play if you need to take a screenshot of where different characters are, so that way you can see which character is playing, what their health, dexterity, attack, defense are, anything like that, as well as all of your defeated tyrants along the way. So all those additional mats will be on the bottom here. There will be slight spoilers for the Automoton of Shale expansion, so if you don't want to see that, go ahead and skip to the next time code. But we'll go ahead and close up this top section here with our reference material for one of the promos. This is the Drake and Bright duo from Man vs. Meeple. It's not in the comprehensive reference, so we've just printed out a copy of it here, so that way you can see the effect when you pull out that mech chip. Then you have your Automoton of Shale Tyrant encounter, so you will probably want to use this when you're playing with that pop-up book, but it is not required, so you can take this as an additional tyrant if you want to fight it. And of course, inside of all of these tyrant things, you're going to have not only their cards, their encounter cards, but also their chips and then any tyrant die that's associated as well. And lastly, you'll have all of the non-tyrant specific campaign cards and dice. These are going to be things that you'll earn along your way during your campaign progress. So they'll fit into one of these boxes here. Just store that in the upper right section. So that's everything inside of our top section here. Let's go ahead and pack it up. First up, we'll start with those campaign cards in the upper right here, followed by your Automoton of Shale Tyrant, and then lastly, your Drake and Bright duo reference. Next up, we'll place all of our optional mats, starting off with our Age of Tyranny campaign mat, and then your Splice and Dice Make a Tyrant mats here on the bottom. Next up, we'll place the Build a Tyrant save sheets, followed by all of your older reference material. And we'll finish off the top section with all of your Gearloc reference sheets and then your updated reference materials like so. We're going to continue to the right side of our reference sheet tray with all of your Tyrant trays. These are 2 identical trays, one on top of the other, and they're going to store all of your remaining Tyrants. As we saw, the Automoton of Shale was stored in that top section, but each of these are going to be from all of the different expansions. So we'll take a look at one of the trays and just see what it looks like inside. So let's take a look at our Goblin Queen here. We pop off that lid, and we have all of the associated cards for the Goblin Queen. So you've got her Tyrant card, you've got all of her additional encounters that are specific to her, the epilogue for the campaign play for that additional item, and then you have some additional expansion content that added new material for some of the older Tyrants. So those are also included here, as well as how to play with that. So you've got all of the stuff for a single Tyrant in here, and everything does fit for each Tyrant. It works pretty well. And then you'll have some remaining slots in this plastic organizer here that includes space for the dice. There's even space on the sides for dice, and then additional chips for the encounter, including that Tyrant chip themselves. So that's everything inside one of these boxes. I'm not going to go into all of these different boxes as they are all labeled as to who is what. And when you're assigning your stickers to the boxes, you can put them on the top as well as the bottom here for each of these Tyrant boxes. When storing these trays, this is going to be the front of your tray, so you'll pull out from this way, and then this will be the back. So in this back area, we've stored some of your not as frequently used components. Starting off with some of our splice and dice materials, these are the counters. They're just stored in a simple Dollar Tree container. I'll leave a link in the description of the video below where you can find these. Simply open that lid and put them on the table. It's a tray where you can pull them from. And then in a similar fashion, you have all of the different scars for the campaign play that will go onto those Gearloc sheets to show that they have certain abilities that they're no longer accessible for. So these are your different trays for those two specific modes of gameplay. And lastly, one more set of components for Splice and Dice. These are the bags for the Build a Tyrant mode, and you'll go ahead and use those when you decide to play with that mode. But we'll store them in the bag for now. So that's everything inside of the Tyrant trays. Let's go ahead and pack them up. First off, we'll return that Splice and Dice bag into the left side here, followed by your additional components for your campaign and Splice and Dice modes on this side like so. And then lastly, you'll return that Tyrant tray back to the center here. Continuing on down the trays, you have all of your different Gearloc trays for each individual character. For example, you have Polaris here, who's got all of their different stat dice on the top, their initiative die, their character chip, and then all of their ability dice. Now, some characters will have additional components that go with them. There is actually room in each of these trays underneath that character chip to put additional components like Polaris's special magnets here, but then other characters will have chips that will go here instead. So I think Polaris is the only one with really a unique situation like this. Now, the other unique character is our Riffle card shuffle up stored in the upper section here, and they've got an additional deck of cards, and you're going to store that in the left. So as you can see, we'll lift off all of these individual character trays, and you'll see that we have all of those characters on the bottom like so. You could store them vertically like this, or horizontally on the top here to make sure that it does all fit without any lift, because otherwise the trays will not close. So you have your characters, all of them have that same setup of the ability, initiative, and their stat dice, and then any associated chips. In addition, on the top of these trays, you're also going to have labels that indicate which character is who, so you can see them just at a glance and then pick the character you want. And then on these character trays on top, they're also here in case you do want to switch them back and forth, so you have some that are a bit easier to take out. Now, aside from the Gearloc character boxes, we have two additional sets of components here, starting off with the mat for the Gearloc Child. This is from the Daelore expansion, and so if you do run across the Gearloc Child in your adventures, you know where he's at. He's tucked up here in this upper area. And then our last component in this upper right corner is your box that's going to contain all of your different equipment for Gearlocs. You'll see what I mean in a second here. The first thing inside of the box is the additional expansion content for the Daelore. You have the dice for the baby, as well as the reference list here, and then the encounter card to show that you are playing with it in your game. Now, I've gone ahead and actually just shuffled the loot cards into the deck, so they do show up randomly, so we don't necessarily pull this out and read it every time. But when the Daelore baby does show up, we go ahead and integrate this into our gameplay like so. And our last components in here are cards for specific Gearlocs, including the recipe cards for Carcass, separated into the standard recipes, and then, of course, his gross food recipe. And lastly, the reference cards for your different lab rats. So you've got all four of them there, double-sided with the artwork on the back. So that's everything inside of our main Gearloc dice tray. Let's go ahead and pack it up. We'll start off by returning our extra Gearloc cards. Make sure you have the Daelore, the Child back here, and then the card deck for Riffle, as well as your bottom layer of characters here. And we'll finish up by placing our 4 remaining Gearlocs on the top of the others like so. Continuing down the Trove Chest, we have our mat and card box. So first off, on this left side, you have all of your different Gearloc mats. Starting off with our lab rats, they are a bit awkward, so we store them on top. And then you'll have your battle mats. So these are going to be used in every single fight. So I actually use the mat from Undertow, as it has the mech spots, as well as it's double-sided to include the raft area. And then underneath that, we're going to be using the special mat from Unbreakable. So it does have some empty spots here to place those lava chips, and you'll see where we store those in a bit. So we do not use the mat from the core game, as the Unbreakable and then the Undertow mat serve the purposes of having all 3 of the different battle areas available. Underneath your battle mats, you'll have your world maps, and these will track your progress on getting to your specific tyrants. So based on the length, you'll choose whatever of these tyrant areas to place the baddie. And then you'll put your dial here to show your counter on your days. Now these are double-sided. They feature art from the different worlds. This one's specifically from Unbreakable, and then the other one here is from Undertow, as well as that core game here. And the rest of this left side is going to be filled with all of your different character mats for all of your different Gearlocs. They just have a single mat each, and you'll go ahead and get the one that matches the character on your reference sheet, the dice. So these include all of the different current available Gearlocs. And this does include our double-sided ones. Everything does fit here in this main area. So these are all of the Gearloc mats on this left side. Moving on to the right side here, you'll have all of your every game cards. Now, starting off, you'll have these dividers that show what the cards are, starting off with our Trove loot. So these will be shuffled up and placed in that center of the table. And then next up, you have another divider that will say the loot. And you guessed it, all of the loot is up next here. Shuffle that up from all of those different expansions. Lots of different options there. And then you'll have your day 1 to 3 encounters. These are signified by that little symbol in the corner. That's like day 1. So those will be all here. You'll need 3 of those, 1 for each of your starting days. And then your next tab here is your special encounters. These will be things like the Molnar Traders, as well as the Ebonite Doorway, special events that you can find as you play. And then lastly, you have your general encounters. So these are actually going to be general encounters for multiplayer. So these are for all of your 2-player and up missions if you're playing at least 2 Gearlocs. So those will be all tucked in this right section. But all of your solo encounters are actually going to be in this large deck box here that came with the Trove Chest. So you pop that lid off, and then these are all of your specific solo encounters, marked with that little solo option on the bottom here. So all of your solo stuff is in here, and then all of your multiplayer encounters in the up here. And since this one is a bit thick, it's going to stop all of these cards from moving, so keeps everything nice and snug. So that's everything inside of this main card and mat tray. Let's go ahead and put it up. We'll start off with all of our Gearloc mats, putting those in that left side like so. Next up are your adventure mats. Then we have our battle mats, one for Unbreakable, as well as one for Undertow. And lastly, you have all of your mats for the lab rats. Moving on to the bottom of the Trove Chest on the far left, you'll have all of your Baddie chips stored. Now these Baddie chips normally are organized with these lids on top just so that nothing jostles around during transportation or anything like that, but I've gone ahead and removed all 4 of the lids for this video. As you can see, all of our main baddies here follow the same pattern, with having the 1-point baddies with the symbol for their team, like the kobolds here, and then the 5-point baddies afterwards. So these are the 1-point kobolds all here, and then the 5-point kobolds. So that works for the break baddies, the orcs, the goblins, etc. So all of your 7 core baddies will follow this pattern. You have your dual type baddies here, same idea with the 1s and then the 5s, and then you'll have the crown as well as the machines. These are only 3-point baddies, so they don't have any other subdivisions required, so you can go ahead and just stack them all like so. And then lastly, you're going to have all of your 20-point baddies here. In low player count games, you rarely use these, so we don't normally set them up at the very beginning, but if you're playing solo, you almost never see these, so we've left them in here. But if you do need those 20-point baddies, you can reach them in here, and they're going to have the organization based on that symbol in that bottom right corner, just like all of your others here. So we've got like our beast here, then kobolds, etc. So these are all of your 20-point baddies here, and then the 1s and 5s from their specific types. The last items in this box are silica gel packets for freshness in the upper section here, and then you'll have some additional chips. Now, starting off with these gray chips, these are 3 health chips. You may decide that you want to use these, but we've never really used them much in our experience, so we just kept them here in case the call does show up for them. And then you're going to have 2 additional chips that just don't fit into the associated trays. So these are specifically for Tink as well as Gilly. So they have ally chips that come in some of the promo sets, and so there's actually no room for these 2 chips in their trays. We've actually replaced their characters with promo ones, so we have like a Valentine's Day Gilly and then Tink that's rolling a snowball. So I like those a little bit more, so we've kept these to the side. But if you do want to use the original art for Tink and Gilly, they are here in case you do. So it's everything here in this left tray. And that brings us to our final tray here. Just like the last one, I've gone ahead and removed the lid from the health chips like so, just to reduce the glare. But you have all of your upgraded health chips on the right side. And when you're ready to play, you'll actually take everything out of this box and place it on the table. So everyone will have those health chips that they can pull from. Next up are all of your every game dice. These include a variety of different dice types, starting out with all of your basic attack dice, your basic defense dice, your crit attack dice, lock picking dice, status condition dice, one of the treasure chest dice, and then 2d6. So this is set up so that you can place it between 1 or 2 players so that they have a bank that they're pulling from. They don't have to reach across the table. Everything is right there. And you're actually going to have an identical copy of this tray underneath that you'll put on the other side of the table and then have available for that set of players. It's really nice that you do have some of of those redundant components like the lock-picking sets, so that way there are plenty to share around, but you don't need all of those additional dice, which is why we've gone ahead and toned it down a little bit here, because I don't think you'll be rolling more dice than this, but if you are, you do have that additional tray here that you can pull from. So you got plenty of attack, plenty of defense, plenty of status dice here, all for 1 or 2 players. And in our last container that actually came with the Trove Chest, you'll have all of your remaining general components. Starting off with all of your Unbreakable chips. These are going to be for the rock as well as the lava. And the way I like to do it is I like to put the mat onto the table, fill it up with the different Unbreakable chips, and then place the Undertow mat on top of it. That way you have 2 layers of mats, but you're ready for any encounter. It doesn't matter which one that you play first. In this top section of the tray, you're going to have some additional dice and chips, starting off with some of your initiative chips. These are going to be marking which character is which for the baddies, as well as which color lane they'll spawn on. You'll have your day counter for your adventure. This will track where you are on your progress and how much time you have left in that adventure, as well as your battle queue. And then lastly, you'll have some of the dice for the initiative stored in that top section, as well as your party markers. This is going to show where you are on those mini maps. And then lastly, in the bottom section of the organizer, you're going to have some more chips as well as dice, starting off with your different terrain as well as your broken raft chips. You'll use these when you're playing the Undertow scenarios, and then you'll have the remaining dice for the initiative as well as your round counters. This is going to mark where you're at, as well as when you get into fatigue during your mini battles. And then lastly, you'll have a heads or tails coin. This is one of those promos, as well as this ocean counter. So these are all stored in that one bottom section. So that's everything inside of our final tray. Let's go ahead and pack it up. We'll start with all of our health chips on the right side like so, followed by your 2 sets of standard dice in the middle like so. And we'll close off with all of your general components on the left side. And that is organizing Too Many Bones all the way up to Unbreakable using the Trove Chest. Once again, if you have any questions about anything that you saw here, please let me know down in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure that you do. It is the best way to help our channel grow. How do you organize your copy of Too Many Bones? And do you use the Trove Chest like we do here? What do you think of Unbreakable so far? What do you think of the new Gearlocs? Which are you the most excited to play next? And what are your favorite Too Many Bones expansions in general? We'd love to hear what you think. But thank you so much for watching SideGame Strong.